Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go out, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Happy Friday, Billy, Tony, Jeremy, Roy, Chris, Jonathan Zaslow, Mike Ryan here. We have a 7-game series in the NBA Finals, first time since 2016. At what point do we shove it completely up the ass of all these basketball nerds that told me OKC was just going to run away with this? Because, oh, I'm a basketball casual. I don't know how OKC is just so much more dominant. Yeah, but I jumped in the playoffs, and Indiana looked good to me. And OKC, everybody hyped them up. And now OKC doesn't know what to do against this Indiana defense. Back in my day, Rick Carlisle ran his zone. Now he's just sending multiple defenders, trapping everybody. And OKC has 21 turnovers. They don't know how to shoot from outside. Let me tell you something about OKC. This seems like a very unserious championship team. They might win in 7, and they'll do their bit of suffering. But this isn't the same type of suffering NBA teams used to do when they won an NBA Finals. They're playing with their food. I don't understand what's happening. But all these nerds that told me that this was a foregone conclusion and they were just going to roll here, they got egg on their face. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come, because very clearly Indiana is bothering the OKC Thunder.
Well, if you're saying that it's not the same type of suffering as other teams in the past who have lost and suffered, if they lose Game 7 at home, it's going to be so much suffering for them.
Then they can win next year.
Well, okay, we can say about every team that suffered, you know? it would be it'd be one of the greatest upsets of all time, all right, if they wind up losing Game 7. So I think there will be some suffering. And by the way, look, for the first time ever, ESPN allowed me to go on ESPN.com. I love the expert picks. Every time there's a big series, hockey, baseball, basketball, I love when the expert picks come out. I got to see who's sus, who's picking against my team, all right? I love counting them up, you know? And so for the very first time, I was allowed to be on the expert picks.
Yeah.
I was on the expert picks for the finals.
Idiots.
I was one of the idiots.
Who's Sam Bontemps picking in the series?
Tim Bontemps. Yeah.
I was allowed to be an expert.
Somebody's saying, like, who the hell's Jonathan Zaslow?
Right, that's right. But that's okay.
We did that when we were
Heat fans.
When we were Heat fans, we'd find any beat writer.
Yeah.
Any single one.
Who's sus?
Yes. Who's doubting us?
Tim McMahon?
It's Sam Amick. That's where I got Sam from.
It's all right.
So for the very first time ever, I was allowed on ESPN.com. I'm an expert. I had Thunder in 4. I was the only one who picked Thunder in 4.
Everybody was so insufferable. Everybody that plodded through this meaningless NBA regular season, they arrived at the NBA Finals and they told me, like, you don't even need to watch this stuff. It's going to be OKC. They're going to roll.
Well, Vegas told you that too.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Nope. Indiana is legit, and TJ is an awesome basketball player. Yeah. Obi Toppin, incredible contributions. Halliburton was setting people up left and right. What I liked about Game 5 from OKC was SGA was kind of making hockey assist. He wasn't doing the direct assist. He was moving the ball around, and they were crisp. I know Game 6, you're going up against a team that's fighting for their lives. It's a different situation, especially for a team like OKC that hasn't quite gotten over that hump. And hopefully for their fan base, they do that in Game 7. But here's a team that has actually done suffering. Low-key, Indiana has suffered plenty. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and if you remember how they lost in that Eastern Conference Final, it was win probabilities that were well above 75. They choked games away. Rick Carlisle barfed all over the front of his quarter zip against the Boston Celtics last year. And don't forget the IST final runner-up. So that's 2 finals, 2 trophies that they had the opportunity in very recent years to win. They didn't do it. So if we're doing big suffering, not big suffering, Indiana's got the suffering edge.
I thought we were doing that today. I'm glad you brought it up. Big suffering, not big suffering.
Chris, I actually have a stat about Mike bringing up TJ McConnell.
Oh, let's do it.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Stat of the day presented by Miller Lite.
TJ McConnell is literally having the most impactful series off the bench in NBA Finals history. He's the first bench player in NBA history with 60-plus points, 25-plus assists, and 15-plus rebounds in an NBA Finals.
Not surprising. It feels that way.
It's perfect for Indiana. I mean, Tony, their offense
He's white.
being able to go, well, that on its own, but
Sucks.
the ability to
It's the
go from Halliburton to McConnell offensively, running your offense, and to be able to put both of them out there, it's like 2 Tasmanian devils running around, and they also still somehow don't turn the ball over.
I've said on the alley-oop a couple times during the post shows where the offense looks better when TJ McConnell's running it. In like a weird way for big stretches of the game. It's like, oh wow, this is what happens when you can get somebody that gets into the paint like that. I could just shoot turnaround jumpers 3 feet in the air, and he's 6 feet tall.
It's crazy
like, how
that
the
Casey
hell
Wallace
does he do this?
just wouldn't put a hand up. There was a stretch there where he
Nobody
hit,
the people put a hand up, and he goes up, like he goes higher than that.
right, but it blew my mind. Like, given what McConnell's been doing all year, there was a stretch there with 3 straight possessions where he was on the left side, drove to the same exact spot, right to the right of the paint, and does the turnover jumper. But as he's doing that, Casey Wallace is just understandably, because he doesn't want to get, pump faked, and then, he's throwing an oop to Obi Toppin, who's right in the dunker spot. But the idea that you're not even putting a hand up, TJ McConnell is like 5'2". It's amazing to watch him operate.
Mike, to your earlier point, right, the way you started the show.
Yep.
How nerds were saying that Oklahoma City was going to roll, how they're the more superior
Big time
team.
nerds. Big time nerds.
Yeah, nerds were saying that. So, I think what we're seeing here from the Indiana Pacers is an unprecedented run that we've seen maybe ever.
Really?
100%.
I mean, they're playing.
They're playing excellent.
They've been playing this way since January, though. Jeremy's always quick to point out that the numbers over the majority of the season have been tilting this way, and this is a team that's growing up in front of our eyes. I don't think that this is like a shocking turn of events. Now, TJ, continually getting better year over year. This is a guy that's been in the league for a very long time, and you're right about Halliburton and TJ playing together. As good of a playmaker as Halliburton has been, he's also a pretty nifty catch and shoot dude for TJ to find, and TJ just doesn't miss. If he's got the shooter's touch, it'll roll around the rim, it'll bounce in. If it bounces out, it'll just lip out, and Obi Toppin's there to pick it up. A really gifted player.
If we have one rule around here, it's don't give Jeremy credit for anything. But I have to give him credit. He's been on this Pacers team before anyone. Early in this season, he's like, that's a
Before
good
Ernie
team.
Johnson came on here?
Yes.
Well before.
Yeah, well, defend your take. You're saying that this is an unprecedented run. I've been listening to Jeremy, and I don't think it's so unprecedented. I've been expecting this.
Regular season is mundane, is what you called it, right? Nobody cares. Plotting doesn't matter. So you're going to give me the stats of the Pacers have been really good in the regular season. You say, okay, they're a really good regular season team that gets bounced in the playoffs by Cleveland, by Boston, by New York, by somebody else. They get to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they're dusting all of your favorite teams on the way there, and you finally get to the finals. You're like, finally, somebody is going to stop them. Oklahoma City, who's been running amok through the entire league, right? You talk about regular season not mattering. They went 68-14. Like, they're one of the best teams historically in NBA history on defense and from a regular season perspective.
That's why the nerds loved them.
Exactly.
The nerds love them. Any team that blows teams out at this clip, they always win the title.
Exactly.
That's what the nerds said.
More. I think they had more double-digit wins than they had losses.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, think about that for a second.
That's
So
why the nerds fancied him.
and then you get to the point of the NBA Finals, you're like, finally, the OKC Thunder are going to put the stop to everything that's going on in Indiana. Great story, but OKC's better. And now, Game 7, you're staring at maybe losing in your own building, the best home court advantage in the NBA, and you may lose? Like, that's a big deal. It's unprecedented what the Pacers are doing.
It is unprecedented. Oh, sorry, Zaz. You go ahead. Go ahead.
If I'm Oklahoma City, like I've obviously been on Oklahoma City's tip. All right, I told you.
Hey, yo.
I'm an expert. I had the Thunder in 4, but if I'm Oklahoma City fan right now, I am really, really scared going into Game 7. Really scared. Because this Pacer team, look, there's pressure on both teams going into Game 7. It's do or die. Obviously, there's pressure on both teams. But Oklahoma City, after that performance last night, like that looked like a team that's not ready to win a championship.
Nope.
It was such a pathetic,
Unserious.
immature effort
Yes.
from Oklahoma City. How were they not ready to win the championship last night? It was such a pathetic effort. I'm really worried about them going into Game 7 if I'm a Thunder fan.
Oklahoma City is called Bricktown, more like shitting a Bricktown.
Look, I would.
Bricktown works.
Aren't they one of the youngest teams
They need to
ever?
edit that.
Yeah.
in the
Second
playoffs?
youngest ever.
So, I
Second
mean,
youngest.
we're saying immature, not ready. Maybe they aren't.
But man, they were up 3-2, and they had won the previous 2 games. Like Game 4 on the road, went down by double figures late in the third quarter, and then they win Game 5 rather easily. Like, all right, this is a team that's ready to win. Nope, they were clearly not.
This felt like the rest of the team saw what Shea and Jalen did in the final 8 minutes or so of the previous game and went, they got us. Like, we're good. And didn't really show up. And if anything, there are sort of 2 arguments to make here. A, this Indiana run going up against OKC is only an argument for the regular season, because if you would have seen what they were doing from January through April, you would have known, hey, the Indiana Pacers, while the 5 seed, are one of not only the best teams in the Eastern Conference, one of the best teams in the NBA since this calendar year started. And so it would have shown you some of the things they were doing. But really what this goes back to is what we were talking about at the very beginning of the playoffs, which is that weakest link theory, showing that depth and having no weaknesses is almost more
That's the new NBA now.
than your strengths.
That's the new
and
NBA.
given the way that the contracts are working, the new CBA is going to kick into effect, and that's only going to be more of what's going on. You look at the Pacers, their bench shows up every single night.
They don't have a
Obi
single
Toppin,
player averaging 20 points this series,
They're-
and they're a win away from winning
That's
the NBA
exactly
Finals.
right. And there's not a player who plays poorly when they're out there. And if you look at Oklahoma City last night, Shea and Jalen, while their numbers obviously don't reflect it, they weren't bad last night. Shea was getting doubled on every single possession.
No, they
But
both
if you look
were
down-
well into double figures
There's
at
no
halftime.
assists.
Yeah.
There's no assists across their rotation players because there was no ball movement and no body movement. So this is an example of an Indiana Pacers team that is just built perfectly around their best players and shows you, hey, you might not have to have a whole bunch of 1A superstars to be able to compete if the rest of your roster is the right level of complementary.
I'll tell you who I'm down on at this point. Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
Wake up, buddy.
Look,
Wake
Chet
up.
Holmgren came into this league. That's supposed to be a guy you could build your franchise around. And he doesn't need to be that guy in Oklahoma City. He's the 3rd guy on the Thunder. I mean, you have a chance to win the championship last night. 2 for 9, 4 points. He's shooting 36% in the series.
That's real bad.
It's the lowest ever since the merger. It's the lowest field goal percentage. A center. Centers are big. I don't know if you know that.
They shoot close to the basket. it says.
The rim is 10 feet,
Yeah.
and centers, they're like 7 feet.
Yeah.
All right.
He's like 17 feet tall.
If you punctuate a stat with since the merger, I'm listening.
Yeah.
The lowest percent ever shot by a center since the merger. It now belongs to Chet Holmgren. Chet.
Embarrassing.
Chet. Not good enough.
I guess I got to give credit to Indiana in that outside of a gut check fourth quarter last Friday, I don't think I've seen OKC's best. They just flatly have not lived up to the
Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl is still saying that.
well,
It's coming.
they haven't lived up to the billing, and I guess everyone expects them with a home crowd in Game 7 to finally get over that hump, but I don't know.
I almost think they'd have a better chance if Game 7 was in Indiana.
You do?
I think there's so much pressure on them now in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, Game 5's performance was pretty amazing by both Shea and Jalen Williams, so we have to give them credit for that. But to your point, Zaz, I can make the argument that this game Game 7.
Wait,
for
are you
Oklahoma-
making it, or
I'm
could
making
you?
it. I'm making this argument.
Yeah, you got to differentiate.
I'm making this
man.
argument. I'm making the argument.
You heard his Chet Holmgren take. That was conviction right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
I
you
made
made it.
that. I didn't. Maybe I could. No, I made the argument.
I am making the argument
Yeah. Okay.
that this game, Game 7 for Oklahoma City in
game.
their home building,
Big game.
is the most pressure on a team since the Big 3 Heat's Game 6 in Boston.
Oh, come on,
Prisoner of the
man.
moment.
Oh, wow. Come on.
Disagree.
now.
Prisoner of the moment.
You should have
Because-
said that you could make the
because
argument.
Don't make that argument.
because as you mentioned, Chet has not shown up in the way that you would expect. This might be a blueprint game for what it is that Oklahoma City is, because they could decide, hey, let's get out ahead on these contracts the way that they did the last time around, and they moved James Harden proactively. This is
Well, that's
just
also because Harden. It was a contract situation.
understandably.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think it's a blueprint game, but I'm scanning my brain for NBA Finals since 2016. We've had so many random
Right?
ones.
No, it's 16. 16's the one.
Yeah, that you're dead on.
I think that was also different because they'd already won a title. Like, that's the one thing I would say is.
So you're saying none of the Warriors
Warriors
series had
not the
moments.
same type of pressure that this individual thing is. Because
You think this is more
you're
pressure
against-
on the Thunder on Sunday than the Warriors had in 2016 in Game 7? Because I disagree.
I mean, maybe. Look, I am certainly being a prisoner of the moment, but I the reason you could make that argument,
But it's
I
since
won't make it.
2016.
Are you
but
making it,
could-
or-
No, he
you
was taking it
could
back
make
to
this
2012.
argument. I was
really?
taking it back to
Ooh.
2012, and the reason I would argue it is because the Warriors had already won a championship when they
Okay.
were going into that Game 7. Yes, it was blowing a 3-1 lead,
73 wins.
and you don't want to be in that space, and you were the best team ever. But this team was the best in terms of point differential, I believe, of all time. Like, this was a truly, truly dominant regular season team
Nerd
with
talk.
the MVP, with an incredible second best player who had 40 points in Game 5. For this team, if they don't show up at home against, yes, we've talked about how good the Pacers have been, but a 5 seed out of the Eastern Conference who's not the reigning champs in the Boston Celtics, this would be a different conversation if they were playing at home against Boston. The fact that this is Indiana going into their home court, if they lose this game, it feels like a giant deal in the NBA.
So taking all of that into account, at the start of Game 7 on Sunday, you're telling me Oklahoma City is not tighter than Indiana is? Because I think they are.
I think Indiana's loose.
I think they are.
I
I think Indiana's
I don't think
loose.
there's any pressure on
I think
Indiana.
so too. Well, there's pressure. It's Game 7.
Game 7.
Yeah,
Game 7.
But you're like, what, to his point, you're just happy to be here at some point.
I think they think they can win. I think they're going in there saying we're going to win.
No, I know they think they're going to win, but if they lose, our stars hurt. We're a 5 seed. Like, this was an awesome year for Indiana.
Halliburton may have been faking. Let's be honest. Wow. You saw last night. It may have been a bit of a faker.
It's an important conversation.
All right, let's turn our attention to what happened in the wee hours of the morning over at 11. It looks like Sam Bennett is sticking around.
Oh, interesting. I thought we knew that.
Yeah, you reported that. A lot of people have been floating 8-8, and Billy, this is the second straight year. It seems as though the Panthers are just doing the same exact thing. I mean, down to the
They have an
jersey,
itinerary.
just down to the jersey that Barkov was wearing at 11. The same exact thing that they were doing last year. Are you sick of it, Billy?
Am I sick of the Panthers?
Are you sick of this Panther championship celebration?
No, why would I be sick of the championship celebration of the Panthers?
I overheard you saying you were fatigued.
I'm fatigued. No, we were talking about it the other day. I was asking Zazzle if there would be Panther fatigue out towards the end of the run of the Big 3 in Miami Heat, that there was somewhat of a feeling of fan fatigue. The tickets were easier to get that fourth year, and the Panthers now are following a similar script. They lose in the Stanley Cup final, then they win back-to-back, then the fourth year you're there, and what happens here? Is there an expectation? And Zaz said no, that hockey's totally different than basketball.
Regular season
Basketball,
hockey's different.
Yeah, basketball, you start and you knew that the Heat were going to be in the NBA Finals every single year. Look, I'll be honest with you. That fourth year, I was basically a season ticket holder for the Miami Heat because Dan never wanted to go to those games. Like the first, he still has, I think, the same seats, great seats, And it would be like a lottery as to, if he didn't go to the game, he couldn't go for whatever, who would go? Mike would get the ticket sometimes. Roy would get the ticket sometimes, right? Sometimes there's one ticket you had to go and sit with his mom, which was kind of like nice that you were at the game. But
I never took his tickets. Never did.
You never said. Well,
Never
you had
did.
season tickets too, right? Or no?
No. Oh wait, no, I did have season
One
tickets,
of the years.
but after the big three, so
Yeah.
I really botched that one. Goran Dragic though really delivered.
Well, that fourth year, tickets were easy pickings. You know what I mean? Before you'd go maybe one game that year. I went probably 10 games at least that season. So I was wondering if there was going to be a similar fatigue with the Panthers. Zazzle says no.
No.
I think it's pretty strong. No, just from we're down in Dade County, Billy, and just looking at banners, looking at bars, hearing people talk. Looking at the line across around the block at 11, when last year you could just kind of stroll right in. It seems as though there's an uptick in this market. The whole back-to-back thing, it feels like more people are paying attention. I know people are isolating the ratings and.
Well, it's hard not to, right?
Okay.
Like they were putting up 2.8s.
Oh, no, that's just cable versus broadcast. This was on TNT as opposed to ABC last year.
Okay, there's a part of that that's true, Roy, certainly. But the numbers are a little bit fugazi when we're talking about what the Panther ratings are during this run here. Miami-Dade and Broward is one market. Palm Beach County is another market, all right? And the Panthers are very much a Broward and Palm Beach team. So when you're comparing Miami-Dade and Broward Heat ratings to Panther ratings, that's apples to oranges. You combine the Broward ratings with the Palm Beach ratings. That's a more accurate depiction of who's paying attention.
I feel
to
the
the
need to
Panthers.
defend the ratings in Miami. It's not like they're going to take the cup away from us, and Miami's
No,
still
but I
a growing
saw some of
market.
this. He's right. I saw some of it. online.
I see it. It's a loser's lament. It's the same
Well, no,
thing
then
as
they were
state
also
taxes.
saying that more people were watching the NBA Finals down here in Miami than they were watching the Panthers when they're the hometown team.
Okay,
I haven't brought it up. I didn't want to be the guy to poo-poo the situation.
But again,
Good finals,
Miami's
though.
not
Good
the
finals.
it's not the right comp. Miami.
Yeah.
It's Palm Beach.
Talk to me. Talk to the
not
Jackson Five.
scientific. Doesn't feel that way to me. Just not super scientific as a poll, but it feels like people were watching this.
You don't
this
trust
team.
ratings?
It looks like people were watching this team in mass and going to places and being around other
Look
people
how
that
excited
caught
everyone is.
puck fever. Look, we're a growing market. This franchise betrayed the market. They were flirting with leaving for a long time. It was a horribly run organization. Vinny Viola comes in, stems the tide, and starts turning things around. And I think you got to look at Florida as essentially an expansion team that's still trying to find its footing. This is a weird sport in a weird market in Miami-Dade County. Anyways, and I'm kind of proud of the strides that they're making, and I don't need to make excuses or anything like that. Yeah, the ratings are still growing year over year. You may look at a difference because one was network over cable, and it may look like there's a downturn, but that's not the case here in this market. There is certainly more of an appetite, I think, for Florida Panthers hockey, and it's still a growing market. And I think we'll see more people at the parade, just like we saw more people at 11, like we saw more people in the bars filling it up, just like we saw the ticket prices in the secondary market booming. I just think that we should kind of lean into the fact that this is new and exciting for this market.
And the coolest part for me is you ask my 7-year-old any sport, she's like Panthers, Bobrovsky, Reinhart. Like my 7-year-old can name like 10 Panthers.
Here's what fortified my Florida Panthers fandom. Because growing up, I had 1996, and they were my favorite team. There was nothing like that Scott Mellenby rat thing, and they get swept by the Colorado Avalanche, and I was a fan for life, and I saw a lot of David Booth, all right? I saw a lot of bad hockey in my day, and I stuck with them. They were my first job after high school. They were my first love. I love the Florida Panthers. It's not a bandwagon thing with me. If you want to say, well, you're talking more hockey now, yeah, man. Got beaten down.
Interested in
it was
it
a
now.
cliche. They were 5 points out of the final playoff spot with 2 games in hand, like perpetually. That was their thing, and they finally turned that thing around. And they have a really well-run organization. And right now, you're seeing the seeds of generational fandom building. I can't even imagine for your kids, Zaz. I know my daughter knows the Panthers, knows certain players. This is a really exciting time down here, and this is the stuff that'll make this franchise sticky. It's what happened in Tampa. Remember, before the lockout, they made their cup run, and the lockout really took a lot of the wind out of the sails of that sport. They went on verses. It was a series of bad decisions that hurt hockey, but they're on the come up again, and the Florida Panthers seem to be on the forefront of this, and I don't think we should apologize for the lack of the ratings or whatever. Like they're on the precipice of being dynastic. So I don't need to explain our fandom that we're a weird ass market and we should lean in.
I love learning about the future. And sorry, that's the elbow room you're hearing there. That's actually wasn't at 11 last night. Upset. You're hearing. We're learning of the news of whether they're going to re-sign or not at clubs. Like last night.
Zaz
feel like you
told
learned
us
of
2
it
days
here
ago,
2
yeah.
days ago with me sitting right here in this chair.
Well, I
but
think
now it's
you're-
coming straight from the source.
Right. Let's throw to that sound because
Zaz is the source.
Sam Bennett was there, and by the way, Sam Reinhart loved the microphone. I know he had a wedding last year. He missed the parade. He had to leave early. Sam Reinhart made up for it well over last night. The guy just could not put the microphone down. But there was a moment where they're talking to Sam Bennett. The crowd's going crazy, chanting 8 more years, and here's what Sam Bennett said in front of a whole bunch of people at 11.
I ain't leaving.
I ain't bleeping leaving.
Other side of the coin, though, Aaron Ekblad kind of felt like he's leaving.
Really, what happened?
Not the same vibe. So, like, they were going around and everybody was speaking. They
Too
tried
much talking, I heard from someone.
Probably a little too much. It was
That video you courtesied yourself? You took
No,
that video?
I put it in our Slack. That was from our group
yeah.
chat. I don't know who took
Chris
that.
Cody wasn't there this year.
I didn't go this
Chris
year.
How
Cody,
does this work? The Panthers tell you we're going to 11 tonight, and you guys all just show up?
That's
They
kind
put
of how
on
it happened. 11 put it
social
out.
media.
And they said the Panthers will be here tonight, and then everybody just went to see the Panthers?
Can I ask something real quick, too? Like, 11, I've never been there. I mean, whatever. And I see a lot of people in the shot. Like, they're wearing Panther jerseys, Panther sweaters. If the Panthers weren't there, would you be allowed in the club just wearing a Panther sweater?
I don't know.
11's pretty chill. You can wear club wear is a lot different.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to wear Steve Maddens anymore and button downs.
All right.
Like you can wear hats. I mean, the 11 hat is iconic locally. It's pretty chill. Yeah, you can walk into the club in a hockey sweater. Although 11 did encourage people to wear their Panther gear. This time out, everybody did their speeches. Some people doing too many speeches. But one thing that really stuck with me was Aaron Ekblad speaking to the crowd. It kind of felt like a little bit of a goodbye.
Well, why? Because didn't he a couple weeks ago? Didn't he like he was asked about it at the start of the series or something, and he gave some whole deal about I bleed for the Panthers. I love this organization. I don't ever want to play anywhere else.
I don't know if there's been conversations since then. The vibes changed.
Yeah.
It felt like I love you guys. Thanks for everything.
So
type
you think
speech.
that within the end of the Stanley Cup and last night at 11, there's been conversations already?
It felt like it.
Yes. I mean, if you remember, like, there's a lot of moves being made in the NHL right now. The Panthers don't have that luxury. And remember, when they went 7 games with the Oilers, the Reinhart extension was like essentially done at the parade. Lomberg knew he was on his way out. Like,
Well, I told you a few days ago the Bennett extension was done.
Lomberg got announced the day after the parade that he was going to California.
Yeah, and it was pretty clear around the parade that was a swan song for him. And the thing, I hope I'm wrong about Ekblad, who came back from that steroid
I think
suspension.
you are wrong.
I hope so. Came back from that steroid suspension and kind of played the best hockey of his career. straight up.
Awesome.
Last year in the Stanley Cup final, it was very clear who was shutting down McDavid. It was, if McDavid's on the ice, we send 16 out there. And if he somehow gets past 16, Forsling is there.
Yeah.
This year, it was an entire village that was just pushing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to the boards. It was Ekblad and Forsling. If you were able to crack Reinhart, Lundell, Barkov, we weren't even doing that thing anymore where McDavid was rushing onto the ice to avoid Barkov because everybody that he played against was a problem for him, and Ekblad was a huge piece of that. We'll say the crowd tried to get a 4 more years type of thing going with him, and he wasn't really biting. So I hope I'm wrong there, but it kind of does feel like you got to pick 2 out of the 3 when it comes to Marchand, Aaron Ekblad, and Sam Bennett. We know Sam Bennett's done. The 8 by 8.
I know, because I told you a couple days ago.
You guys want to play 2 out of 3?
The number.
I'd go Ekblad and Bennett. Is that
Me too.
obvious because of the age? But
mean-
that's if you made me choose 2 out of those 3, that's who I would take.
Everyone knows my bias when it comes to Marchand, but one of the numbers that's been floated out there by reputable reporters is $5 million a year
For
Brad
3 or
Marchand.
4 years. For 3 or 4 years.
it's a lot.
That's a lot of
It's a
money
lot.
for a dude that's 37 years old. And hell, did he finish second in the Conn Smythe voting?
Yeah, 11-7 was first.
He
place
was
votes.
phenomenal. He was one of the great trade deadline acquisitions ever. You could look at what Bill Zito did in the at the deadline and say that's one of the more effective trade deadlines.
How
ever.
important is it for the continued growth of Loisterine and Lundell?
I see. Like I think it's the other way. I think Lucerinen and Lundell breathed life into Brad Marchand, and I know he got off to a slow start, and he arrived injured, right? He had to take several weeks off, and that's probably why I was out here in front of a microphone saying, not a good play, not good. He turned it around, and he played on what I happen to think will go down in history as one of the greatest third lines in the history of the game. And we've seen that line time and time again spark whoever is on that line.
So why not keep it as one of the greatest third lines in the
Because
history?
he's 37.
McDavid had a thing where he's just like, the third line's plus 20.
Yeah,
It's like just one of those, like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
No, the bottom six was unreal. And I want to talk about Edmonton a little bit because before this series, and a lot of people had this take, both teams are better than they were last year. Both teams are better.
Edmonton wasn't, though.
Edmonton,
we were wrong.
Edmonton was better, but they made moves that made them worse specific to this
Against
matchup.
us. Yeah.
And they got rid of young guys like Broberg and Holloway and McLeod, guys that were good Vogel. I mean, he was probably priced out. You have to make tough decisions.
Not having Hyman was definitely a big thing.
Yes, because everyone is quick with saying, like, Corey Perry played so well, they didn't really miss Hyman. No. Corey Perry did play well. Imagine having Corey Perry playing well and Zach Hyman.
Panther draft pick.
Yeah, and we know Bob has like a couple of weaknesses in his game. You go up high, that's one of them. And also, if you screen him, where Toronto got a lot of early success in the series against us, they were screening Bob like a madman. And Hyman, that's his game. And they didn't have that there. They were only relying on Corey Perry, and they barely bothered Bob. Barely bothered him. So I think while in retrospect, this was a 6-game series, and it's a rare 6-game series that was a blowout.
Oh, totally. History will look back at, that must have been a good series, 6 games. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. It's like, no.
Ass kicking.
It was a beatdown. Like Rod Brindamore would tell you, it felt like a sweep.
Can someone explain to me why Nick Nurse makes $8 million a year?
It's not Nick Nurse. I've made that mistake before. Nick Nurse is a former Toronto
Darnell Nurse.
Raptors
He's the Sixers
head
coach.
Wow, that's twice I've done that.
Yeah, champion.
Elbow
Darnell
room.
Nurse. He makes a lot of money. And,
Nick Nurse. Wow.
And you need to make a lot of
What
money.
a pull
Like,
from
look,
you.
they got rid of those guys, Broberg, Holloway, McLeod, Vogel. They brought in guys like Arvidsson and Skinner, guys that were getting scratched, healthy scratch. And it's not like these guys came over and took a discount to play over at Edmonton. And let me tell you something about this state tax BS that everybody wants to do. And I really did enjoy the FU biz chant that erupted over at 11 last night. First off, state taxes only apply to the home games.
Yes.
All right. You get taxed wherever you play.
Well, games in Florida, so add 2
Right.
more for Tampa.
Right. You'll play some road games in like Tennessee, I think, is a non-state tax state. Texas, non-state tax
Arizona.
state.
Oh, but they don't have a team anymore.
They don't have a
Washington.
team anymore. You'll run into certain states, but you get taxed based on where you're playing the games.
Where you're working.
Right. So if the Miami Dolphins travel to the LA Chargers, they get taxed in that tax bracket over there. What people don't tell you is that Canadian teams, they don't get paid in Canadian money. They get paid in American money.
Oh, that's
so
true.
that makes up for it. And also, teams like Winnipeg, several teams actually in Canada, their arenas get tax safe harbors. So they actually get kickbacks. And the local markets, not the NHL, but the local markets legislate equality that way. And don't even get me started on the cost of living. If Biz does not want to get rid of this, by all means, Biz, come over here and try to get a 1,700 square foot townhome. Pay $1.2 million for that. Now take that money and try to buy a home in Edmonton. I guarantee you your money will go a hell of a lot longer. The cost of living here is insane. So it all evens out in the end. And also, what are you going to do to markets like LA and Chicago? Do you give them subsidies? It's a horrible thing to try to legislate. And also, we were crap for 25 years.
This team went 26 years without winning a playoff
We were
series.
bad. We were bad. Sprinkle this state tax magic over the Miami Dolphins, please, dear God.
And nobody said this about the Lightning when they were winning.
No, it started kicking up with the Lightning, especially when they made it to their third straight final. This is a thing. It's the loser's lament, and it always comes from Canada. But they also refuse to acknowledge the fact that they get carve-outs just the same. They find ways to level the playing field. It's an impossible thing to legislate in this league. Gary Bettman dismisses it out of hand immediately every time. You know someone's a loser if they go to the state tax thing.
So you think 5 out of 6 years, it's just random? Like it's just
Yeah, no,
that's
I think
the argument is
no.
that 5 out of 6 years.
No, it's
non-state tax
great
teams.
team building.
Those are great teams.
I'm with you.
Edmonton
That's the
Edmonton
argument.
made it 2 straight. They were They have a tax
Dallas
situation.
has been to three straight conference finals. Give me the player who the big player that the Panthers signed in free agency. I'll wait forever. Who's the big player?
Well, no,
on this
they
team?
have nobody making more than 10. So it's like the argument is that everybody can take a couple million. That's what they're saying. I'm not making the argument that everybody.
Who's taking a couple million less on this team?
Barkey?
Barkey. That's a
Reinhart.
standard price. He makes $10 million.
Reinhart and Forsling, those were sweetheart deals. People are taking less, but you know
guess what? They originally signed Forsling because he was waived.
Right, but they're people think that maybe the state tax does help make up some of that delta, but people are taking less because they want to keep the team together because they're winning. Because things like
that
last
never
night,
happens in sports, right?
Yeah, because things like last night were friggin' awesome. And these guys genuinely love each other, and I think that's a larger play than any state tax thing. The state tax thing drives me up a wall because you're trying to diminish the accomplishments of what is a really truly great team, well built, incredible stuff by Will Weedo, incredible stuff by Paul Maurice.
Even if you want to give that even an ounce of credit, which look, you could say. Players are happier to make more money.
Could say.
But the reality is the only way it helps this team is in the longevity. They built this team without that even being a factor. Mm-hmm. That had nothing to do with what building this team was that turned them into the champion that they are. It might help them become dynastic in an even greater way than they already are because all of these guys want to keep this team together and might have already taken pay cuts, but there's an extra incentive to in being here or an extra bonus to doing so here in Florida.
Also,
you know,
a pressure.
The bonus is winning Stanley Cups.
When you're winning Stanley Cups, that's going to happen anyway.
And there's also a pressure now. If you're Bennett and you see Reinhart took a good deal, Barkey took a good deal, you're like, okay, I'll take 8.
All I hear from hockey players, especially this time of year, is how winning the Stanley Cup is the only thing that matters. And now we're making a case that players are signing here because of money? Mm-hmm. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Miami Marlins. State tax. Why isn't it working for them? It's not a thing. It's just a loser's lament. And I'll tell you something. Florida Panthers are built for the long haul. I mean,
they ain't going nowhere.
No, these guys are in their 20s still.
Coming up on Mystery Crate, me and Tony and Jess and Mike Fuentes play a game called Is That an Ice Cream Flavor or a Candle?
It's a good tease.
Oh, we also played a game where Jess has to guess how many chips are in a bag of potato chips that we found in the office. Yeah. Tony throws his praise at Aiden Ross and tells us what a genius he is if you want to hear that later on.
That's a setup.
What do you mean?
That's a setup. I just said that there's
He's a very smart guy, I think.
I just said that there's something smart about being a millionaire.
He's a very smart guy.
Okay, he's a smart guy, dude. He got me. He's a smart guy.
This is the best mystery crate promo of all time.
Yeah.
Don't you want to listen?
That's for the audience to tell us.
Oh.
It's the pitch clock, and it is back on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. I'm always telling you how it's every single Thursday. Surprise, not on Thursday this week. We don't have a show, so it'll air on Friday on YouTube, on your podcast app. What do we have in store? We have what I would refer to as maybe a pitcher's duel in trivia. Chris Cody and I struggling a little bit as we get a reliever. A substitute teacher, a spot starter, Ethan Badowski, running Taylor's trivia game. But do not worry, it was still crafted by our man Taylor. And then, of course, we have Fabian Ardaya. He covers the Dodgers for The Athletic. We get into Shohei Ohtani, another NL West team in the Giants trading for Rafa Devers, what it means for them, what it means for the Red Sox. And we take a look at a couple of star aces in New York. So lots of big market coverage. Some really fun trivia moments. We've got it all for you on the pitch clock. Thanks for sticking with us every week.
Hey, Le Batard fans. Logan Hackett here. And this week on Goodfollow, we are talking Caitlin Clark's return and impressive threes, Angel Reese's first career triple-double, the Valkyries' recent success and their player depth, plus the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2025. But we also go through some of the hottest topics in the WNBA right now submitted by fans, like who should take over in Dallas, or is Jewel Lloyd a poor fit for the Aces? You can catch new episodes of Goodfollow on Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Tell the audience that we've got a bit of an emotional week, I would say, here this week as we are leaving this studio. It's been an eventful 2 years where the show has struggled and groaned under the weight of trying to build a business, and we're going to move into new studios. Everything is moving after, I think it's close to 10 years here. And we're going to remember some of the things from the Clevelander because as expensive as the property value has gotten around here, the neighborhood has really deteriorated. There has been
so is my health.
There's been a lot of
but that's your fault.
Shootings here recently and assassinations, plural. And we need to get out of here. And next
that
week,
move is brought to you by Miller Lite. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Next week is going to be a little bit difficult because we're going to be in the change, and these are not your problems, they are our problems, but we ask for yet more patience after 2 years of trying to build this thing. We're excited about getting into new studios, and we will remember the Clevelander throughout the rest of the week here, because one of the great memories I have, Stugotz, it really is one of my favorites as I've gotten late in life and have learned to appreciate some of this nonsense that we get to do every day, is the weekend before we were going to go on ESPN radio and start with whatever it is we were doing with them. They were going to make this studio look like all the other studios, which is just blue paneling behind us that would be nondescript. And my brother and I spent the entire weekend here putting all of this stuff up. And the reason that it's one of my favorite memories is because I remember the screaming phone calls on Monday when no one had been informed that that's what we would look like. And they didn't want us to look like that. Or no one had given them a heads up, I should say. It's not that they didn't want us to look like that. It's that they were going for homogenized at the beginning, and we put up all these tiles that we're at some point here going to just auction off because they've been here for 10 years representing us as we make a move to become a bigger business. We've got, Mike, do you know how many employees we have now? I don't know how many employees we have now.
I walked into today's pre-production meeting and I was a little stunned at how many people were in that room, considering it's just jarring seeing how we've started. And there was a lot of people here when we were doing HQ. It was even tighter back then in many respects because we had the equipment. But I think the stark contrast is from the pandemic days when ESPN would only allow you and me in these studios and people were zooming in. So I am maybe I'll have fonder memories when we get out of here, and I'll look back on some of the stuff that we did here and created here fondly, but I can't.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
We typically do this earlier in the week, but we have some house cleaning to do, and this is one of my favorite segments, the boldest take of the week. Chris, do you have that queued up?
I have it queued up. It's the boldest take of the week. Presented by Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country.
Bill here. My bold take is hammocks. Overrated. Sure, 15-minute nap here, 20-minute nap there on vacation. $150 later, get one for the house. Nothing but a patio ornament. I'll hang up and listen.
Hey guys, this is Jake on a mobile. Just wanted to see, when someone says we're like peanut butter and jelly, what would you rather be? I think I'd rather be the peanut butter. I'll hang up and listen.
Hey guys, this is Kermit the Frog, and this is my limited thanks you got dismissing Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Go ahead, Andy Reid. I dare you. Because you think Patrick Mahomes is going to be something that your other quarterback is not, huh?
Hey, Doug from Omaha. Here's my strike three call.
Pat McAfee looks like the guy who test swings the clubs at Topgolf while telling the server that they're not quite as nice as the ones in his bag at home.
You should have seen that man crash the board. He could play the 5, but usually played at the 4. Well, he don't play the game no more. Was pretty good for a white guy. Made all of the 3-point tries and also block shots. Yeah, that's just race LaFrance. Pick third in the draft. Jayhawks to Nuggets. I'm told that he was great as a big to stretch the floor.
Hey, it's JJ from a mobile. My boldest take is, of all the foods that you could spill on the floor, I think the hardest to pick up is shredded lettuce. I'll hang up and listen.
I'm gonna say, bit of a dip in form. We gotta get better there. I think there's still some more meat on this Aaron Ekblad bone, ale. But the general vibe that I got is people were trying to coax him into saying, yeah, we're gonna run it back three-peat, and he didn't quite take the bait, which is a little concerning. These conversations do happen quickly. It's an unfortunate part of the business. While they're celebrating a cup, you make it that long, it means you have less time to have these uncomfortable conversations. By the way, Connor McDavid, if I'm an Oilers fan, not the most encouraging of press conferences there. But Aaron Ekblad, he's still young. And I know this is a guy that has battled through
injuries. It feels like he's been in the league for 30 years.
It's a guy that he's battled through injuries, and he may have taken some performance-enhancing drugs to recover from those injuries. And he turned around in his late 20s and played some of the best hockey of his career. And I have no idea their cap situation. They could always make a trade. I think if we're actually looking at guys to trade, and this is not a popular opinion given the postseason that he had.
Whoa.
Carter Verhaeghe.
Whoa.
Your postseason leader in points. Look, that contract during the regular season looked like it was immediately bad. And he's a big game player.
Whoa.
Lays sneaky lumber. But if you're looking at a guy to potentially move and create space on your roster, look, I know defensively he actually is sneaky good, does some things that guys like Mackey and Jesper don't.
In the playoffs.
Right. In the playoffs especially. But I do think some of the offensive production, if you put Mackey on the line with Bennett and Tkachuk, I don't think there's a drop-off in your offensive production from that winger spot. I really don't. And I love Carter Verhaeghe, and he was immense this postseason. But it seems as though that's just putting it off to the side, floating something else out there if you need some cap relief, because this is a salary cap sport. But the prevailing theory is you need to pick 2 out of the 3. Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, who seems you've already reported. That's done and dusted. 8 for 8. That's great. He's already said that he's not
I haven't reported the terms.
Well, 8 for 8. He was chaining 8 more years. So it seems as though those rumors are true. I've done some digging around there. That seems to be the number. Ekblad, he can make a lot of money.
Okay, so hold on. Let's start
I know
here.
Carolina is definitely interested in Aaron Ekblad.
All right, let's start here. What is a reasonable price for the Panthers to offer Aaron Ekblad?
6.
Who's coming off of $8 million a year?
6 per year.
He hasn't done
6
anything.
a lot.
He hasn't done anything outside of performance-enhancing drugs to say that headed into his 30 years of age season that he deserves a pay cut.
If Darnell Nurse makes 8.5,
yeah, Bouchard,
Ekblad can get that.
Bouchard was defensively an embarrassment. Meanwhile, Aaron Ekblad defensively was a stalwart for this team. And everyone's counting on him to take a pay cut. He's made a lot of money in his career. This is a guy that's made close to $60 million in his career. Aaron Ekblad is not underpaid by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe he wants to continue winning, but that is not the vibe that I caught from Aaron Ekblad. There's a guy that can make a big fat contract. And you look at a team like Carolina, who I happen to know, done some reporting on this, is very interested in signing Aaron Ekblad and will offer more money than Florida can.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. I think he's gone.
I think this works both ways. I wonder how you feel, okay, where, all right, they just won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Is that a good thing for him to stay, or is that a reason for him to leave? I can make the case on both sides. You want to stay because, man, we just won 2 Stanley Cups. It's amazing. Let's win a 3rd one. This is so much fun. I love it here. You can't leave when you're on top. And then there's the other side of it where it's like, all right, I just won 2 Stanley Cups. I've done that. I have that in my career. It's so rare for anyone to win a Stanley Cup. I've just won back-to-back Stanley Cups. Like, mission complete. The Panthers selected me #1 overall in the draft. We just won 2 Stanley Cups. I need to make sure that I get that one last huge payday. I could see making a case for both sides.
And it kind of feels like the Seth Jones move was kind of...
Oh, definitely.
Like the replacement.
I thought the writing was on the wall when they made the Seth Jones trade.
It's impossible to keep... Like, they've done a really good job of keeping this core together, but look along the way. You've had to make tough decisions. Brandon Montour in a similar position, cashed in big time. I think Aaron Ekblad
probably regrets it.
Aaron Ekblad has a big fat contract still out there in the free agent market if he wants it. He's coming off of.
You don't think the PD suspension ruined that at all?
No, he came back and he was stellar.
Isn't Bill Zito's argument? Hey, we paid you a lot of money for some bad hockey. Time for we scratched your back when you were bad. Now take a little cut here.
What about no state tax?
That's always working for you. I listened to a lot of Edmonton Oilers podcast after they lost because I'm really fascinated with this team. Like, I thought this team was better, and they were, but not when they match up against the Panthers. Remember how fast Edmonton looked compared to Florida last year? And Florida is a slow team.
Oh, remember if we were on 4-on-4, it was a disaster.
It was a disaster every time. That speed, Florida looked like the quicker team of the two. You have McDavid, who has blazing speed. You have Connor Brown, who straight line speed is a problem, but not really the test that they were on Florida last year. And Florida did such a good job defending them. I'm unfortunate because he did so well. He acquitted himself nicely. This is a guy that's been a little frustrating in his time when he's battled through injuries. But the general vibe that I got, Bennett stays. Marchand wants to say, and Bill Zito has already said, like, yeah, I'll buy a Dairy Queen to keep this guy.
If the Panthers only keep one of the 3, that's a bad offseason.
Yeah,
it is bad offseason.
I mean, I trust Zito in that spot to like fill in those holes, but
you have to keep 2 out of 3.
I'm not crazy about this number that's being floated for Brad Marchand, and I know, like, look, he was awesome. It was a great,
what's the number?
Great trade. $5 million a year for a dude that's 37. Like, if he gets that somewhere else, I don't think that we're shaking in our boots over Brad.
What
Marchand.
was the number that Boston offered him, which he turned down, and then they traded him? I think they were offering like 3.5, right?
I think I was in the neighborhood of 4. It was in the neighborhood of 4. Different tax situation over there. I think, like, yeah, I don't think we should be spending that kind of money, too. I'd rather that money go to Ekblad, who's a guy that's been here for about a dozen years.
That's why I would rather it go to Ekblad, too. I feel like if you're deciding, okay, I can only keep one of them, do I spend the money on Ekblad? Do I spend the money on Marchand? I think when you have this culture that you preach about, you know, how special the team is and the character is, we love what Marchand did. But if it comes down between the two of them, you can't give Marchand the money that you would have given Ekblad, that he would have stayed if you gave him. Like that, I think it sends a poor message if you do that.
It seems like Zito can fill in like these defensemen. He just finds them.
We got Seth Jones, like a natural replacement, big bodied.
Is it easier in Zito's mind? Okay, I keep Bennett, I keep Marchand. That offense, I can find. I'm not saying he can find another Ekblad, but
no, I think it's the other way around.
Really?
I think it's the other way around. Remember, going into the season before they traded for Seth Jones, what were we saying? Like, whoa, they need another defenseman.
But he found a Nate Schmidt. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like defensemen,
I'm talking about middle of the season. Middle of the season, it was like, we need another defenseman.
We need another blue liner. Yeah. And that was a huge acquisition, an acquisition of consequence, and everybody would applaud and call Seth Jones one of the great deadline acquisitions of all time. Were not for a guy that finished second in the Conn Smythe. Real quick, I want to change gears because yesterday there was a really cool game locally down here. If you're an Inter Miami fan, they were playing up in Atlanta, a 3:00 game in the Club World Cup. Prior to now, it was short-lived because they were the first team from the Americas to beat a European team in a true competition, like in a competitive match. They're friendlies. Chelsea has lost to New York Red Bulls in the past. But in terms of a competitive match, no team from North or South America had ever beaten a team from Europe. Inter Miami did so. And not only did they do so, they came back from a 1-0 hole. Really terrible penalty that they gave away in the first couple of minutes. Awful first half of football. They come back. Messi was brilliant in that second half. The entire team really was great, and then they turned to the dark arts and they salted that game away. Porto, the team that they beat, let's talk about this team.
That's a good team?
That's a real good team. I mean, third in the Portuguese league this year, domestically a down year for Porto, but this is a team that has 2 European championships to their name. It's a team that won the Champions League this century. So they're a team of prestige. Inter Miami entered that game a pretty hefty underdog, and now they're all but through in the group. To get out of this group, which is a very difficult one, they have a big-time game. I bought tickets after Inter Miami came back.
Well, they had a draw and a win so far, right?
Yes, they drew Ali. They beat Porto, which was probably their toughest competition in terms of prestige, reputation, and top-to-bottom talent. Palmeiras is an incredible team out of Brazil. They're going to be tough. That's going to be an incredible atmosphere.
And
Monday
is that
night.
the last group play game?
It is, and Inter Miami are pretty much through unless Al Ahly beat Porto and beat them by a couple of goals and make up a goal differential. This year, FIFA actually got it right. Credit to FIFA. They've done a couple of good things here. I like what the referees are doing in terms of talking to the crowd with the VAR. Made Anthony Taylor palatable for once in his life. But the first tiebreaker in the group this year is head-to-head. And Inter Miami have a huge head-to-head victory over Porto. So in all likelihood, Inter Miami are going through the group. Now, it's a big deal to get through this group and be first because you want the better matchup. Now, they cease being the only team from the Americas to beat a European team in a competitive fixture because the very next match, the reigning Champions League winner, PSG, lost to Botafogo, a team from Brazil, 1-0 at the Rose Bowl, an incredible upset, one of the great upsets in club soccer. But this Club World Cup has been delivering, and I can't even imagine the atmosphere that is going to Hard Rock Stadium on Monday because both these teams need it. They want to win the group. Neither team has really punched their ticket yet. It's in all likelihood they're both through, but this is going to be brilliant. And Messi, by the way, continues to deliver on expectations. This is a big deal to get out of this group. That is a major achievement. And I know most people will be like, win the Club World Cup. You're going up against, teams from Saudi Arabia have a $500 million budget. This is a team, one of the dudes has 2 torn ACLs.
Should I go to that on Monday? Is that going to be a big game?
I think it's going to be...
that's a big game?
It's a big game. Don't look now, but I think that is going to be a big-time game coming your way.
Did you say don't look now?
Yeah, I did.
It's time for a new game. Don't look now.
I like this game.
Don't look now. Presented by Smirnoff.
You weren't at 11 with us.
The world's number one vodka.
Why does your voice...
Please drink responsibly.
Why does your voice sound like that?
Guys, don't look at his voice.
Room.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Focus on this. Right, Zaz, are you looking?
No, of course not.
Okay, thank you. I can see. Even though I'm not looking, I can see. Okay. Boys, big deal or not a big deal here? Don't look now. No, listen.
That's a different game.
No, it's not a different game. Not a different game. Shador Sanders cited for speeding twice. Big deal? Not a big deal.
So what was he going?
101, yeah.
Yeah. There was a really funny tweet what's the big deal? Last month he went 140, he went 240.
144 when he should have went 25.
When he should have went 25.
That's funny.
Do we read into that? Is this a maturity thing?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah. It's incredibly poor judgment. I'll give you a good example. Zach Edey in May, it turned out, was doing the same thing. He got arrested, going over 100 in a 50, which was worse than Shador. Nobody cares. Nobody even talked about it. Shador Sanders is Shador Sanders, and he's trying to be the face of a franchise, the quarterback.
And he's had a good minicamp.
It's incredibly poor judgment.
But where's
He's
the
looking
line?
really good.
Are we okay if he's going 88 miles an hour? Like,
Yeah.
is this
Yes.
like a...
Yes. Yes, I am.
So 23 miles an hour over is fine, but if you go 101, you are immature.
I know for me, when I'm on the highway and the speedometer says 90, I start to get nervous.
yeah, I go, oh, got to slow this down.
That's when
What
I
are we
feel like
doing?
I'm cooking.
What am I, Dom
My car
Toretto
shakes
here?
at that point,
Yeah,
honestly.
I-
Like
I-
my
You
car
gotta
doesn't
change your
allow
tires.
me to speed.
You got to change your tires. If
That's
the
not
case,
good.
Yeah.
It should be able to go 90.
I keep it so that I can't.
What? Keep what? So
You're
you can't
checking
do
yourself.
what?
Yeah, I
When
keep
he's-
my car not fully operational so that it prevents me from breaking
speeding.
the
When it
law.
starts rattling, you're like, whoa, whoa.
That sounds like a man that lives his life a quarter mile at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes my car can only go a quarter mile, you know?
Put gas in it. Don't look now. Jair Alexander joins the Ravens, reunites with his old college buddy, Lamar Jackson.
I wanted the Dolphins to sign
Is he
him.
still good?
Not a big deal.
Is he still
Not
good?
a big deal.
Not a
Different
big
game. We're doing it's a different
Still a
game.
good
We're
player.
only doing
That's a
that
good
what
player.
we should
Don't look
That's
now.
not good.
Yeah, Dominique said
He'll
he's
play
good.
like 4 games this season, but it's a good player. Good player.
I mean, that's a tough position to miss that much time. And we've seen guys.
Dolphins love injured cornerbacks. I can't believe they didn't sign him.
And lastly, don't look now, but some good news in the world of professional cheerleading. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, I don't know what they're called. Cowgirls?
I think
maybe?
you nailed
I
it.
don't know. Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, okay. They've got the Cowgirls, 400% raise for the Cowgirls. So
Nice.
big up to them. Netflix documentary probably has something to do with it.
Now they
We're
get
very happy
$200
about
a
it.
game.
Tulsa for a rally, huh? On that day. Seemed intentional. Hey, you guys remember Beat the Streak? When I was in high school and in college, this was like a big deal.
It was
and
a
you would have
time.
to open up a desktop. Yeah, you had your computer that had like some sort of catastrophic disease because you were downloading stuff on Kazaa.
What was your record? It was presented by Scott's, I think, at the time.
I
right?
was
Is
terrible.
Scott still doing it?
I had friends that were good at it. I think once I got to like 8.
I got to a baker's dozen one time.
8?
I was bad.
Yeah.
What'd you get to?
I think
really
I got
hard-
up to 30 one time.
Wow.
Yeah. I was starting to count the money, and then I was looking into like the fine print. I was like,
This is the hit one,
I
right?
work
Yeah.
for 790.
They have a home run one too.
You have to beat Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, and it seems impossible. In fact, it is legitimately in the MLB. It's proven to be impossible for someone to break. What's the closest anyone ever got to that?
I would just go Miguel Cabrera all
Remember
the
when
time.
Luis Castillo had the 35 in a row?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dan was following him around the nation. Did you know that this game is still around?
No.
Beat the Streak. Yeah, it's still around, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's captivating a nation the way that it was, Jeremy.
Well, it should because of what happened earlier this week. So there was a user on Beat the Streak named IoTank.
What was he
And
using?
They had picked 50 straight games with a hit. They had gotten to 50. Now, no one has ever reached 57 straight picks. You win $5.6 million
In
if
the
you get
history
there.
of this game.
In the history of this game, no one's ever
No
done it.
one's done
No one's
this.
ever done it. No
That's
one's
crazy.
ever been able to do it. And 50 is damn close, right? So you're riding a 50-game hit streak going into Monday night. They picked not Oakland Athletics, the Athletics rookie, Jacob Wilson, against the Astros. And I'm going to set this up for you. So Wilson was 0 for 3 going into the 8th inning. There's a man on first with 1 out in this game. And if we can go to the video, here's what ends up happening with Jacob Wilson. So Jacob Wilson ends up hitting a shallow fly ball to right field. You'll ultimately see the first baseman, the second baseman, and the right fielder all collapsing toward it. You think this ball is going to be caught. Oh, but it lands in front of the right fielder. But runner was caught in no man's land.
Fielder's choice.
Fielder's choice. Hit streak snapped for IoTank. It ends at 50 after an 0 for 3 start. A bloop lands between 3 infielders. You feel incredible relief. And then the runner ends up in no man's land in the middle of first and second and ends up out at second base.
Game 50, you can't take Jacob Wilson.
Jacob Wilson, he's hitting 367.
No, you can't keep. Yeah.
No, it's gotta
Jacob
be-
Wilson.
I'm pretty
no.
sure I saw
You
a
find
stat.
where Albert Pujols is playing
I'm with Billy.
somewhere in
Yep.
the Dominican Republic. You see if there's a glitch that you could pick him. You pick Albert Pujols. You go with the stars.
I'm going to look
Exactly.
this up, but I'm pretty
Ichiro,
sure
thank
Jacob
you.
Wilson was
Exactly
their
right.
most selected player.
Mark
during
Ellis.
this stretch.
Scudero. I love that. I love those teams. How is this going in Sacramento with the
Great.
A's?
I think they might stay there. No, they're going to Las Vegas.
No,
Never
they're
mind.
building it in Las Vegas, and it's an
dog
expensive
with a
piece
bone.
of real estate. But I haven't watched any of these A's games.
It's weird that we have 2 major league franchises playing in minor league stadiums at the moment.
It's really wild.
You saw it, like the Rays are inching towards a sale, and also, no one's really talking about this. Jay Moore is the richest comedian in the history of the planet now. Like. Jeremy, you're looking at me like I got 2 heads.
I don't even know what. I don't know what you're talking
with
about.
Tony
Jeannie Buss.
says that's
married
not,
to Jeannie
it's not
Buss.
that actual money.
Well, hold on. What?
Tony says that's
What's
not
actual
$10 billion.
No, well, it's a valuation of $10 billion. They
It
didn't
turns
give
out they
$10
get like
billion.
$15 each.
They got $4.8 billion, but a valuation of 10. So it's not all 10; it's 4.8.
And then you divide that, and by the time, I mean,
exactly right.
If you have a valuation of $10 million, you end up at the end of the day getting 1. Do you even want $1 billion?
I have a correction. It was low tank. That was a lowercase L, not a capital I.
I think he's the richest comedian in the history of being a comedian.
You think he has more than Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Do you
But
know
I mean,
Seinfeld's
what
proof?
does
Is that your
Jeannie get from
Seinfeld?
this? What does Jeannie get from this? At least a Billy. Do you think she clears a Billy?
Probably.
After,
He's got to split it up a couple times.
she doesn't play for the Panthers, so probably not a Billy.
Seinfeld's net worth is listed at $1.1 billion.
That's crazy. No
He's
way.
got more than Jay Moore. He definitely
For
does.
sure.
1 point.
That's if
He's
Jay
got
Moore
Jay
doesn't
Moore.
sign a prenup too.
Is Jerry Seinfeld really a billionaire? Is that legit?
Is Genie? I mean, who knows?
Seinfeld's so rich.
The way we cut up assets and what you
Also,
have in
this-
cash.
this
What'd you
Dodgers
do with $1
owner.
billion, Zaz?
Oh man, I do so much.
You'd
good
sign
stuff.
Aaron Ekblad.
You still be doing game night?
I would.
Yeah.
What else am I doing?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know. I don't know
I'm
what
gonna
you'd
sit
be
around
doing.
and do nothing.
So I
all
That's
love
why
the
I
game
wonder
right
why,
there.
like, Seinfeld comes out, he does his B movies every once in a while.
Right,
and
he's
it's
still
like,
doing stand-up.
What are you doing? Why are you going to Dania
Billy,
for?
you know
for
who's-
Seinfeld?
You know who
You
I
think
have,
you see Seinfeld at the Dania Improv?
I could.
you know who I have a ton of respect for, Billy?
Who?
MySpace Tom.
Because he just got out
Got
of
his
away.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, became Randy Johnson photographer, goes around the world,
yeah,
just takes pictures.
Can't blame him for misinformation. Didn't try to sway any elections or anything like that. Just kind of, I follow him on IG. Like every 6 months, he'll like post a beach somewhere. Just good vibes. Chill. Always. He was in my top 8. So I feel like we go back a ways.
Better job, Tom from MySpace or fired head, college football coach.
SEC football
With the
coach.
buyout.
Yeah, SEC football coach with a hefty buyout is a pretty good job.
That's the best gig in the
How
world.
often would you redecorate your MySpace page?
I was pretty serious
Just
about
the
it.
top 8 and my profile song.
I miss that, man.
To be honest, it taught you how to code.
Ranking your friends and hurting feelings.
HTML was difficult, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I get it now. I could just do this and then turn it blue or do that, do this.
My background's teal now. How did I do that?
I'll never forget the
put
day.
H here, huh?
I'll never forget the day that I found out I was Alex's 6th favorite friend. I thought I was top 3.
I mean,
My
I
friend.
long for the days
Not really.
where that was the biggest issue with social media. I really do.
I missed MySpace. I didn't get in on the wave. I was too young, so I was still.
You would have crushed it.
when MySpace
You would've
was
loved it.
over. I was, I think, still in middle school.
What would your profile song be right now?
Ooh, right now?
Mine would be Hold the Umbrella.
Yeah, that's it. For
You guys
sure.
want top 5 richest comedians according to Celebrity Net Worth?
This is never right.
Sure.
Well, can we try and fill in the 5?
Okay.
Okay, I'm Seinfeld, obviously.
Seinfeld, he's on the board.
I'm gonna
Correct.
throw Chris Rock in there.
Not on the board.
Ooh. Kevin Hart?
He's on the board, number 4. Seinfeld's number 1, Hart number 4. We have 3 more available spots.
Chappelle.
Chappelle not on there.
Mulaney?
Not on there. Think older.
Larry David?
Gallagher?
No Larry David.
Mel Brooks.
No.
Do you consider Larry David a comedian?
See, this is like
He did stand
I'll
up.
give you
Is
number
this stand
5.
up?
I don't know how you guys can. Adam Sandler's number 5.
Oh, yeah.
He had a
no,
successful
I don't
tour.
understand this
He had a
Still does
successful
stand
tour.
up. He's comedian.
Number 3, Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Number 2, Ellen DeGeneres.
What?
This
Yeah,
is an old
it's
article.
daytime.
TV show, yeah.
All right. Someone ask artificial intelligence. This is too old. I don't think Jay Leno's still in the top 5. Netflix is
But just like
spilling money
net
over the
worth,
bar.
like
Definitely
Yeah,
made
I
so
guess
much
net
money doing
worth.
Tonight Show.
That's old money, though. That's old money.
Yeah.
it is.
He wasted it all.
this would be different if it's just
He
money
really did.
touring for being a
Has to have.
comedian.
He's got so many cars.
Like
Like,
Ellen and
wait,
Jay
You don't
Leno.
fall down
Hold
a
on.
hill if
Where's
you
Joe
don't have
Rogan?
that
Thank
money.
you. Thank you very
Joe
much.
Rogan, you're right. He's got to be on there.
This is
Rogan's
a
up to
dated list.
350 just
Yeah.
on.
This
I
is
guess
Spotify
he's
money.
considered a comedian.
Joe
Still, right?
Rogan?
That's
Yeah.
what he is.
Yeah.
If you ask him.
That's how it
News
started.
radio, yeah, sure.
What are their net worths when you're saying top 5?
It said Seinfeld was at 900,000 million.
Well, what is like 5th? Like Carrot Top is worth
I just-
$75 million.
I just X'd out.
That's what that says? I don't think he is.
I mean,
I don't think Carrot Top's worth $75 million, and he might have like gotten that in contracts over the course of his he's been in Vegas for like 30 years. There's no way that guy's been good with his money.
What?
There's no way.
Why?
You don't see him as a prudent, financial, savvy guy?
No, I don't.
You don't think he's got like a good shyster accountant?
No, the props.
Oh yeah, expensive props.
Half that
yeah.
budget, you got to pour right back in arts and crafts.
Got to repair them.
Mm-hmm.
Prop repair. We're not considering that fact.
Maintenance, yeah.
There's no way that guy has $75 million.
What about Pauly Shore? Where's he on the list?
Pauly Shore is a sneaky rich one because his family owned the Comedy Store.
Yeah. So does that count? Family money?
Yeah, he inherited.
Yeah. How much money he has?
But famously, the Comedy Store like would struggle. Like they were very much like a week-to-week enterprise. I don't know. I think he actually got like a big-time dramatic role,
Well,
too.
hold on a second. Julia Louis-Dreyfus
Biodome.
has a lot of family money, but we don't list her.
Yeah, but she's not a comedian. Like, does she?
She's done a number of comedies.
SNL.
Yeah, that's, see, we're doing.
No, but being in a sitcom is not the same as being a comedian.
Yeah, you have to
stand up.
You have to do gigs. You have to run gigs.
Actively?
Yeah, you have to play
Sandler's
theaters
not
or clubs.
actively doing
Yes,
gigs.
he is.
Within the last year or two.
Nah.
he
Yeah,
toured.
no, he
I saw
plays.
Sandler like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Nah,
no,
it's
he
not
toured
active.
straight up 2 years.
What is
2 years.
active? Like simultaneously as we're doing the show?
He had,
This
a,
week,
he had a
yeah.
Netflix special.
Go do stand-ups,
Nah.
I saw him on tour.
Netflix special's different. We're just cashing
He
checks.
did a very
you know what I
emotional
mean?
number for Chris Farley.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where it's like, Adam, we need you to do a stand-up special, and then we'll greenlight any of your dumb movies that you want to do.
Happy Gilmore 2.
Halloween Town, whatever it's called.
You tell
Hoobie
me you're not
Halloween.
going to watch Happy Gilmore 2?
No, I am.
It's gonna be
Bad
bad.
Bunny's in it,
But
man.
it's not.
It's gonna be bad.
Not great art. I wouldn't
What?
say.
You think it's going to be bad?
I do.
Yeah,
And I feel terrible
it's probably
about
gonna be
this.
disappointing.
You guys,
It's a
have you guys
nostalgia
seen
play.
Have you guys
It
seen like
looks
the
awful.
Sandler vanity projects have like fallen like short of expectations?
I kind of like all his movies. I know they're not great, and
No,
they're
I
not
like
going to
them
be
all.
like I like all
like them all.
Blended. Great movie.
Right, Blended's good. Like I like them. I like them, but they're never like I'm never leaving there like
Dick
That was-
Papadopoulos.
that was some
Dick
moving
Sporting
stuff there.
Goods.
He also made maybe the worst movie of all time in Jack and Jill. Like maybe truly the worst movie in the history of movies.
Duncan-
Sad we don't have
Duncan-
him here to
Duncan-
tell us whether or not that's true.
Dunkachino. I saw Al Pacino without his sunglasses. My God, pal.
Ghastly.
He's aging.
Yeah, that guy's old.
The one with the Pope? I saw that picture.
Yeah.
I was like,
aging, Billy.
Yeah.
There's no S in there.
Not
He's
Asian.
a
He's not
cappuccino.
Asian.
Misunderstood.
No, he's Italian.
He's Italian.
Because he's Italian. He's Italian.